From the window to the wall, we getting lit up in it, big bouncing. We does it big up in it, big bouncing.
What's up? We're back with another garage update. So what we're going to be doing today is, you can already tell we've got everything off the wall. Everything's moved off that bare wall. So I've never done it, and then you can see we've got sheetrock. So what we're going to try to do is hang all this sheetrock. We've already got one kind of mounted up there a little bit with a few screws. We're going to try to sheetrock this whole wall today, and then maybe eventually buy a few pieces to do this under part here and above the garage door, and then that line there. So we've already got everything stripped off, all the loose nails, but we're going to take all this wood paneling off, and what we might end up doing is taking that paneling and doing these top parts or around the garage door. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mount up another sheet here, and then get the rest moved in probably, and then start popping these pieces of wood off and taking that shelf off the wall. Alright, now we're gonna get the shelf tore down and take all the bottles off, and then start sheetrocking that side. Right here we're just starting to measure to see how we're going to be piecing together this next spot. Alright, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that part right there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it and see how wide it is. And if it's I think it's a little bit more than 4 foot, but if I can fit that other piece there, I'll just put it there, and I'm just going to take my drywall saw and just cut around that window frame. And I feel like that might be the easiest way to make it just one piece and not piece together 4 different pieces to go around that window. So I'm going to measure that real quick and see if it's going to be able to fit or not. Alright, so the 4 foot mark is just right here on the edge of this windowsill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that other piece of drywall here, and I'm just going to notch out this C, and then I'll have enough extra, because we have a whole nother sheet, and I'll just put one little piece right up through there. So that's the game plan now. Now we ran out of full 8 foot pieces, so now we're just going to take some leftovers and try to piece together this small strip. Now I'm almost 100% this is wrong, but we're going to end up putting this one on backwards to get the fitting better, as tight as we can. So we're putting it on with the paper side out, but this will be the only spot where it's like that. Now we're just sanding the edges really quickly to try to smooth it up. Alright, here's a little update. Went ahead and threw the mud on all the little cracks, so we're gonna take some of that board, the boards we had, and we're gonna run them on the inside panel here, and then we're gonna buy some trim to go around the edge here. But that'll be another day. So we're gonna try to finish up around this window, these two sides here, get that done, and then maybe we'll be able to start sanding on all the putty if it's dry by then. Alright, it's still a disaster in here, but it's looking way better. I'm already a huge fan of it. So we've got to get a piece for this corner here. I think we might end up buying them 2, maybe 3 more pieces of drywall to do this little under piece here. So we need a corner for that, and then a corner for that, and then we're also going to buy some trim for around the window. That wood that was all through here, we ended up just started cutting it down and putting it up this wall for now. And then I might take these other extra pieces of drywall and kind of go across the top here. I just wanted to get this done and painted before we put the new floor, like the epoxy floor in. So the goal is get this done by the end of the week, and then this weekend hopefully have time to get the floor painted. So just kind of piddle with this throughout the evenings and stuff when I get done working, and nights, to try to get this finished before this weekend, and then get the floor painted. Because whenever we do this side up here, we'll have to take our lights down, and that'll be a whole process in itself. But right now we had to kind of thicken it up. The wall wasn't completely straight, so there's a couple edges here that were kind of off, so we just kind of feathered that out. So hopefully it looks pretty smooth. But I'm gonna go to the store in a day or two and get the little corner pieces for the corners here. And I don't know, we might buy some trim for the bottom edge, like some PVC trim or something, just in case. Like there's a couple spots where the bottom looks pretty rough right there, where it's kind of, that bottom like baseboard's kind of, I don't know, not straight, so whenever I screwed it in, it kind of cracked that sheetrock. So we might try to buy just a piece of trim to run along the bottom edge, and then my plan is paint everything white, and then maybe like the ceiling, if I decide to paint the ceiling, maybe do it like a gray or like a black, and then have the floor, of course, all the concrete bricks there on the foundation, and all this will be this gray color, which I actually have it here. So it's gonna be, this is the clear coat, it's just Sealcrete. And then we have this color, so it's a satin, but it's a slate gray. And then we have these blue chips. We have another bag up in the attic that we'll use to get it a heavy coat of it on everything. And then we'll put a few probably do like 2 or 3 coats of this, probably just this whole can on the floor and everything. And then use this, hopefully maybe just use this whole can as the top, so it's really glossy, because we only did 2 coats in the utility room. Well, I'm covered in paint and drywall dust or whatever, but man, it is looking sweet. So a couple of things I've thought about I'm gonna do is, there's a big gap in this corner back here, and then there's barely a gap on the other side over there by the door. So I'm gonna buy these just little trim pieces, and they're just like corner trim. Usually you put them on like a baseboard, but I think I'm gonna get some like PVC ones and run them up the sides there, and just make sure they're white, just to fill those gaps. And what I was gonna do is paint the brick and then this like ledge here, just with that same epoxy paint. But I think what I'm going to do is go with black and do all the edging black, because on the bottom here, instead of putting like a baseboard or something, I'm just going to use this, it's like a rubber, it's like 3 or 4 inch rubber. You usually see them in like hospitals and like schools. Usually they're like gray or black. But I'm going to get a black one, and roll it along that bottom edge as well, and it just sticks on. So that'll clean that up a lot too. And then I got the boards that we had on the wall before. It's like laminate flooring or something. I went all the way up that wall with them and then filled it with that same putty to try to fill those gaps. So whenever we paint those, after we sand that down and paint those, hopefully it'll look just the same and you won't even know that it's flooring there. I'll show you what it looks like now, and I'll post a little before and after probably of what it looks like in here. So it's probably gonna need another coat of paint, and then we'll still have to paint everything else whenever we get done. And then, around the window, I have some leftover trim from our house, so I'm just gonna cut it up and put it around the windowsill there to hide some of these like ugly corners, like right here where I had to piece of drywall in, but I'll turn you around and show you everything. All right, so from a distance, it doesn't look too awfully bad. You can still see some where we still got to paint, where we had to put that drywall mud. But the wall wasn't even. So this used to be just a carport, and you can see this here. So it used to be just a carport, and then they built walls and extended another foot or two. So this whole wall wasn't exactly straight. So you can see like this one here. So this is one of the edges here. I mean, I was off a good, I don't know, 1/4 inch probably from the board to board, or from sheetrock to sheetrock. So I just put a ton of mud, and you can kind of see it still. I don't know how to make it straight. I was using this with a die grinder with 80 grit sandpaper. This one here I was using on the floor. I put 80 grit on here, and I think it was 80, maybe it was 60. But either way, I put a heavy grit on there, and that's what I was trying to smooth it out with, but it looks a lot better than it did. But around the edges, you can see like right here's a rough spot, and then there's our big gap we're gonna try to get filled. But it's definitely looking a lot better. Still needs some paint, and it still needs a lot of work in here, but. All right, so we're gonna be wrapping up for this video, and there's a lot that I didn't record, but this whole process has been it's been so long, and I didn't figure it was going to take this long. I mean, it's been, I think I started recording that like last weekend, I believe, a week at least. And, you know, we just tonight finished up the painting. We ended up sanding down a lot more spots. And then a couple of these pieces of sheetrock, like how the joists or whatever they are in the wall, the studs, a few of them weren't like lined up very good, so there was some pretty good gaps. So it took about a gallon, I think those are gallon jugs, 1.5 gallons of, you know, joint compound to somewhat smooth it out. And I'll show you. You can still see some imperfections in it, but I'm not that worried about it. So we've got 2 of these shelves, so we're getting rid of that old wooden shelf that was here, and we already threw it away. And then we might end up putting something else on this wall, but we've still got this rack over here for storage, and then the toolbox, of course. So we might end up buying something else, like this company that sells these. They have a bunch of different options. Like they have some floor shelving, and then they also have black metal pegboard that we might do something right there. I'd like to put the toolbox right there, and then just maybe put another shelf on the other end, but because then I'll be able to mount a light on the bottom edge of these to have right there under the toolbox. But I'll kind of show you everything really quick before I call it a night. I think it's about, what time is it? Yeah, so it's 2:40, and it's just going to be a process to get this upper part done, but we'll get it done eventually. I want to get this floor done and get this place cleaned up at least, so I can actually move around in here. I spent 45 minutes just picking trash up and trying to sweep before I stuck this bottom edge on. But all right, so just from over here, you can kind of see it's looking way better. the paint's still drying. I did a really thick coat on all of our tape lines, so it's still drying in all those areas. And then we still need to get some trim for around here. I thought I had some, but I didn't have enough. So these are the boxes. I mounted them high enough where they're going to be out of the way for the most part. And then they've got a lock on them. They just go up and slide in. And we'll just pretty much use it the same way. We just had all our, paints and crap in it. And we'll be able to set stuff up on there, because we're also not going to put this little wire rack back here. So that's where it was. That wire rack was right here, and then we had that wooden shelf. But I think we're going to have enough storage here to have all our paint and sprays and everything like that in one, and then all of our little bits and pieces of like wiring and stuff in one, and then we'll be able to put some stuff on the top as well. And then I went and bought this. Like you see this in hospitals and schools a lot, just for the bottom. I wanted black to kind of go with this when we paint it black, but I guess gray will be fine. That's all they carried. But we've got it ran all the way across the bottom. And then we had to put in like those little corner tape things. You can see up there where I haven't screwed that or nailed that in yet. Just those little, it's like paper and then it has a metal corner. Then we shoved that in that corner because it had a big gap. And then we put this little rounded corner trim piece here, and then we had an extra piece here that we screwed in to kind of help. And then tomorrow I'm gonna go buy a few bottles of silicone to run across the bottom edge here after we get that painted, and then also the top edge of this trim. And then over there, we just took those wood flooring pieces that we had on the wall over here, and we just cut them and mounted them up there. And I've got them all mudded right now, so hopefully they'll be somewhat smooth. But you can see here how this was the worst one. So this has probably got a half a gallon of joint compound in itself, just trying to get this piece somewhat smoothed out, and that's as good as it's gonna get. I gave up on it. It looks way better than it did before, so I'm not really too worried about it. And then we just laid a thick bead of that self-leveling concrete stuff on this crack, because we didn't get that crack at all. And then that was some other like concrete patch that I just stuck on that spot. So before we do the floor, hopefully pretty much everything will be even, or as even as it can get. But yeah, we've got a huge mess in here, so we're gonna have to, hopefully tomorrow or something, maybe we'll be able to get this floor washed, so it'll have a few days to well, we'll have to make sure we get everything grinded down and then get it washed, so and then let it dry for a few days before we start painting and throwing that epoxy on. But that'll definitely be a process as well. I'd like to just get everything that doesn't need to be in the floor out of the floor and put up, so then we can actually see what we're working with here. But yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. The last couple of videos have been doing great, and then our shorts have been doing really good too, just posting little updates here and there. So I appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.